Lena Gutierrez first saw the Obsidian rainbows on the night the subway stalled between Burroughs Station and 14th. Most passengers buried their annoyance in glowing phones, but she pressed her forehead to the smeared window, watching hydraulic sparks skip along the rails. When the lights flickered, the city outside the tunnel briefly revealed itself as a negative, walls black as undeveloped film, voids where neon used to be. Across that darkness arced something impossible. 7 bands of utter black, darker than the tunnel itself, yet edged in a faint oil-slick shimmer. They bent over the skyline like a silent bridge and then vanished, the instant the carriage lights steadied. For the rest of the ride, Lena's fingertips tingled with the sensation of having brushed a secret too large for her pocket. She told her roommate Ellis when she got home. He laughed, half amused, half concerned. "You pulled an all-nighter again. Architects hallucinate when the caffeine runs out." But Lena had spent 3 years mapping the city's shadows for her graduate thesis on nocturnal urbanism, and she knew what illusions looked like. This was different. A detail so crisp the memory carried its own gravity. The next day she searched online. Obsidian Rainbow yielded gemstone jewelry and goth makeup. Midnight Arcs added photos of auroras. Nothing resembled what she'd seen. Then a private message arrived in her inbox. No subject line, only a sentence. "You have noticed them. Meet others who see." A link followed, leading to an encrypted forum. Curiosity shoved caution aside. Inside she found threads titled "Gates Behind the Gherkin," "Broken Spectrum over Sao Paulo," "Melbourne Mirrored Ladders." Each post described rainbows of darkness that surfaced at midnight, always skimming the uppermost contours of skyscrapers, as though drawn with charcoal against the stars. Witnesses claimed the arcs revealed doorways, openings that lasted exactly 60 seconds, leading somewhere else. The destinations varied: a library where all margins whispered, a staircase that spiraled between raindrops, an orchard growing planets instead of fruit. Lena hovered between disbelief and the electric hunger of possibility. A forum moderator called Parallax invited her to a local watch. They would meet atop the unfinished Haverley Tower 3 nights hence, when the moon slivered to its thinnest. Lena agreed, though she didn't tell Ellis. She feared laughter might puncture whatever tentative membrane separated her from wonder. Haverley Tower was skeletal, a concrete ribcage strung with crane. At 11:45 p.m., Lena rode the freight elevator with 3 strangers, a middle-aged woman in a courier's jacket, a teenager whose backpack jingled with circuitry, and a man wearing old-fashioned pilot goggles around his neck. They exchanged nods, but no names. Above them, wind nosed through exposed girders like a restless interviewer. The observation deck was nothing but rebar and plywood, yet the skyline stretched majestic, 1,000 windows forming their own constellation. Parallax, an older, non-binary person with silver hair and a laser-level clip to their belt, greeted them. "The phenomenon requires altitude," Parallax said softly. "City skylines act as prisms, shaped by human intention. At midnight, they refract not light, but possibility. And possibility has color beyond color. Or, in our case, anti-color." Lena loved how calmly they spoke. No grandiosity, only reverence. They passed around protective goggles whose lenses looked opaque until worn, then the world filigreed with faint geometries like the scaffolding behind reality. Parallax synchronized their watches. 11:59 and 30 seconds. Arcs can appear anywhere above the horizon. Follow the curve to its lowest point. That's where the doorway is. The city hummed with distant traffic, neon blinking like patient eyes. At exactly midnight, darkness pulsed across the sky. 7 matte ribbons erupted, folding into a perfect arch spanning the river. Each band was identical in tone, pure absence, but their edges glistened as if each was rhymed with a separate tint only math could name. Lena's breath left her. She felt weightless, as though standing not on plywood but on the question, what if? The teenager pointed. "Doorway, 10 o'clock low." Lena followed the arc downward. On the focside of the old Orion insurance building, a patch of brick turned mirror slick, oval as a mouth mid-gasp. The oval dilated to a human-sized portal radiating icy draft. Parallax remained still, hand hovering over a stopwatch. You have 60 seconds. The doorway chooses the first to approach. Something in Lena uncoiled. She had spent years drawing structures to shelter others. Now she wanted to walk through one built for her. She stepped onto the flimsy ledge of Haverley's deck, clipped her harness to a safety line as Parallax shouted, 40 seconds! And repelled. Adrenaline drowned the wind's howl. Her shoes hit Orion's maintenance balcony with a clang. The oval stood 2 meters away, depthless, reflecting no light. Up close it smelled of petrichor and burning ink. She reached a hand toward liquid blackness. Behind her, the courier yelled 30 seconds, but the urgency only hastened Lena's resolve. She leaned in and fell forward without resistance. Like paper through smoke, the world snapped into silence. Gravity reoriented. She landed on springy moss under violet clouds. The sky glimmered with constellations she didn't recognize, each star encircled by faint rings. Before her stood a city built of letters, towers fashioned from stacked serif T's, domes spun from curling R's, bridges arching in the loops of lowercase g. Streets fluttered underfoot like pages turned by invisible hands. Gigantic punctuation marks bobbed from rooftops, tethered like balloons. Lena exhaled a tremulous laugh. The doorway behind her was shrinking already. She didn't know the rule for returning. Intuition nudged her forward. She chose an avenue paved in semicolons that clicked softly as she walked. No people populated the avenue, yet every structure murmured fragments of language. Thunderous hush, gilded silence, feral lullaby. Words slithered up her calves like affectionate cats. She realized these were sentences abandoned by authors, orphaned phrases seeking completion. A spiral staircase made of quotation marks twined around a glowing obelisk shaped like an exclamation point. At its foot lay a single obsidian pebble, oval, no larger than a raindrop. When Lena picked it up, rainbows of darkness rippled across its surface. Miniature echoes of the sky arc. The pebble felt warm, alive, aware. Perhaps a key, she thought. The violet clouds brightened, signaling something temporal. She felt pressure in her ears, like an elevator cresting quickly. The mossy ground softened further. She was sinking into it. Panic pricked her spine. Instinct told her the gateway home was closing. She sprinted back up the semicolon avenue, words scattering, and lunged at the contracting oval of blackness hovering in mid-air. It accepted her with a soundless gulp. She spilled onto Orion's balcony amid Parallax's outstretched arms. The obsidian rainbow outside had already faded. City lights reclaimed the night. Parallax clicked the stopwatch. 61 seconds. Close shave. They guided her to a safer patch of decking. Lena's harness scraped the railing. "What did you bring back?" they asked softly. Only then did Lena notice her fist was still clenched around the pebble. She opened her fingers. The pebble's surface thrummed with shifting darkness. Parallax inhaled sharply. "A seed," they whispered. "You've been entrusted with possibility." The next days blurred. Lena kept the pebble in a matchbox on her desk, but the matchbox grew heavier, rattling softly as though containing more than stone. At times, faint syllables seeped from it. Reward. She realized the seed was gestating language. She spent nights sketching the city composed of letters, trying to infuse the sketches into her architectural projects. Libraries shaped like open books, bridges resembling commas poised between clauses of land. Her professors praised the innovation, though Ellis merely raised an eyebrow at her sleepless devotion. Word of her successful traversal circulated through the forum. Others sought her counsel, yet Parallax cautioned her. City officials noticed anomalous power drains each midnight. If they correlate the phenomenon, they'll attempt control. Bureaucracy mummifies wonder. Unfortunately, wonder attracts capital. The real trigger was a viral video posted by a thrill seeker who accidentally caught an obsidian rainbow while filming rooftop parkour. A global media storm erupted. Midnight mirage, dark aurora mystery. Scientists proposed atmospheric dust illusions. Theologians proclaimed divine stairways. Advertisers shot beer commercials featuring CGI black arches. Mayor Trenholm convened a task force named Project Umbra. 2 weeks later, Lena's graduate advisor summoned her. Representatives from Umbra wanted to speak. The meeting occurred in an underground conference center buzzing with fluorescent regret. Trenholm and Colonel Whitaker from Urban Security sat flanked by consultants. A slide displayed the airline ticket revenue potential of controlled rainbow tourism. The officials asked Lena to describe her experience and, crucially, any artifact retrieved. She lied. No artifact. The doorway spat me out, empty-handed. Whitaker's eyes narrowed, assessing. Trenholm tried flattery, scholarships, labs, early tenure. Lena maintained ignorance. She exited sweating, aware she had been marked. That night, she packed essentials. Ellis stopped her at the door. She confessed everything: rainbows, doorways, seed. Instead of teasing, he looked wounded that she had hidden wonders. He insisted on joining. "Every architect needs a structural engineer," he said, lifting her duffel. They met Parallax at an abandoned observatory beyond city limits. Fellow watchers crowded the cracked dome. Courier Joyce, teen hacker Miro, Goggleman Anwar, and others Lena hadn't met, Parallax announced. "Umbra will attempt seizure within days. We must relocate the gateways or at least shield them from exploitation. Seeds may help." Only 4 seeds were known Lena's, 1 in Tokyo, 2 reputedly lost in Beirut and Nairobi. Seeds, Parallax believed, could plant new possibilities into old spaces, allowing doorways independent of skyline arcs. "Each seed germinates by expression," they explained. "Offer it the right utterance, the right sketch, and a doorway blooms." Lena volunteered hers. The watchers debated suitable ground. Miro suggested the city's oldest library slated for demolition, its reading room still redolent of dust and dreams. Books, language, letters. The seed might resonate. Plan decided, they prepared for midnight. Umbra acted faster. At 11:30 p.m., armoured vans blocked streets around the library. Soldiers installed portable floodlights. From a rooftop across the avenue, Lena watched through binoculars. Tear gas launchers glinted under halogen glare. Trenholm himself arrived wearing a hard hat, eager for a televised claim of discovery. Parallax radioed, voice taut. "Floodlights disrupt the arcs. They'll force a doorway to stabilize where they can control ingress. We must dim the city." Miro grinned, fingers flying on a handheld deck. "I can black out the grid for 6 blocks, maybe 8. Goggleman Anwar prepared a drone swarm carrying smoke canisters to confuse cameras. Ellis unfurled blueprints showing subterranean ventilation shafts connecting rooftops to the library's attic. They could infiltrate unseen. Lena cradled the seed, feeling its pulse quicken as tension thickened. She whispered to it, "We're going to give you a home where words sleep." The seed warmed. In her mind bloomed images of the letter city, a staircase of commas curving into infinity, a courtyard where ampersands twined like vines. She visualized transplanting that architecture into the library's carcass. 11:52. Miro killed the grid. Streetlights snapped dark. Soldiers barked orders. Anwar's drones spewed silver smoke, further muddling sightlines. Parallax ushered the team across a service bridge into the library's attic, dust motes swirling like miniature galaxies. The reading room below was cathedral vast, lined with shuttered stacks. Umbra teams paced the ground floor, flashlights slicing. From the attic's lattice of beams, Lena lowered herself via rope into an alcove. The seed throbbed. Midnight was near. Parallax whispered through headset. "Prepare, Locus." Lena stepped into the central rotunda, marble floor embellished with an inlaid compass rose. She placed the seed at its center. Soldiers' voices echoed nearer. She closed her eyes and spoke aloud the sentence that had haunted her since the letter city. Beneath every word lies another world waiting to be read. The compass inlay flared ink brack. The seed dissolved like sugar in coffee, leaving ripples of darkness that expanded across the marble. From the skylight high above, a cracked dome of stained glass, an obsidian rainbow unfurled, though no skyline framed it. It arced entirely within the library, its 7 ribbons descending like curtains. Their edges grazed shelves. Books flew open, pages turning in furious applause. Umbra troops staggered backward. Trenholm shouted to secure the perimeter, but flashlights died. The rotunda transformed into a cavern of boundless dusk, lit only by the rainbow's oil-slick glimmer. The doorway manifested at the rainbow's nadir, a vertical slit of blackness directly atop the compass rose. It radiated a hush so profound the soldier's radio static choked silent. Lena extended her hand to Parallax, Ellis, Joyce, Miro, Anwar. All cities need custodians, she said. Together they stepped through. They emerged onto a terrace overlooking the letter city, but its skyline had changed. New structures unfurled. A tower shaped like the stem of a lowercase L crowned by a roof curving into an architect's scale model of a question mark. Bridges of ellipses dotted the horizon. From their footprints sprouted seedlings of punctuation, sprigs of semicolons, budding leaves shaped like conjunctions. The world responded to their arrival, incorporating their syntax. Behind them, through the portal, Lena glimpsed Umbra forces jamming equipment against the shrinking doorway. Trenholm thrust an arm through. His cuff caught on an invisible edge, fabric sizzling as though dipped in acid. He recoiled, face contorted. The portal sealed with a final whisper of pages. Safe yet not completely. They'll try again, Ellis said. Parallax nodded. Which is why we expand until their maps cannot find us. They knelt and pressed a palm to the moss, communing with the architecture beneath. Weeks passed. They built dwellings of metaphor and plazas echoing with polyphonic literature. Time ran sideways. Some days lasted an entire sentence, others collapsed into a semicolon's pause. Lena drafted a library whose archive consisted of unrealized buildings. She realized the city fed on intent. Each design she imagined became habitable before ink dried. But memory tugged. Murals in the old town, children's parks awaiting renovation, a skyline still yearning for new arcs. During a council meeting beneath a canopy of parentheses, Lena proposed reconnaissance. Umbra will not cease. We need allies among those who crave wonder more than ownership. Volunteers gathered. Joyce with her courier's resolve, Miro's algorithms, Ellis's structural acumen. They located a forgotten seed embedded in an apostrophe-shaped stalactite. They planned to return to Earth, though whether Earth was original or italicized no longer mattered, to sow doorways in neighborhoods where imagination starved. They would saturate the city with too many gateways to police, each calibrated to open only for curiosity, never conquest. The night before departure, Lena sat atop the comma staircase, watching violet clouds drift. Parallax joined her. You were the first to bring back a seed, they said. Remember, possibility is not inexhaustible. It chooses caretakers carefully. Lena answered. Possibility multiplies when shared. We'll be gardeners, not owners. At midnight, new obsidian rainbows rose over the letter city, reflecting none of the constellations overhead, but many yet to be named. Lena felt the same tingling from her first subway vision, only magnified, a current of boundless maybe. She stepped through another doorway, team at her side, returning to the skyline where it had all begun. They appeared on Haberley Tower's rooftop. The city slept below, unaware. Lena inhaled pollution and promise. She glanced upward. Faint creases of black still lingered, like a signature across the sky. Time to plant, she whispered. They scattered into the night, pockets full of small dark seeds humming with unsung stories, ready to arc at the next stroke of midnight and reveal doorways no bureaucracy could ever catalogue.